Namo Phat. Thanks so much for joining me for our daily practice check-in. Listen, listen, listen. This wonderful sound calls us back to our true home. The fourth mindfulness training. Aware of the suffering caused by unmindful speech and the inability to listen to others, I vow to cultivate loving speech and deep listening in order to bring joy and happiness to others and to relieve others of their suffering. Knowing that words can create happiness or suffering, I'm determined to speak truthfully with words that inspire self-confidence, joy, and hope. I will not spread news I do not know to be certain, and will not criticize or condemn things of which I am not sure. I will refrain from uttering words that can cause division or discord, or that can cause the family or the community to break. I'm determined to make all efforts to reconcile and resolve all conflicts, however small. We're reading Everything We Do Matters by the Venerable Wuling for our Dharma lessons. And we're continuing chapter 9, Climate Change. With our thoughts, we create our world. The Buddha taught about impermanence, how everything is continuously changing. Each of us has changed from who we were just a minute ago. Some cells have died, others have replaced them. These are minor changes, not even noticeable. We still function as we did a minute ago, even though we have changed. But climate change? No more cheap oil, and eventually no oil at any price. Not enough natural gas, not enough water. These are terrifying. When we come face to face with the changes that we feel are overwhelming and more than we can handle, we initially react from our fear. We say it cannot be possibly true. We say those who suffer from inadequate resources and natural disasters suffer due to their karma. Or we look for ways to disprove what people are saying. Or we choose to do nothing as we abruptly shut the door in the messenger's face. As a commentator wrote on Astic's blog, quote, I think cognitive dissonance has much to do with our collective denial of responsibility. We're unwilling to sacrifice a standard of living that cannot be sustained without exploiting others. So instead of changing, we find ways to minimize the truth and blame our victims for their troubles. People shut out clear, rational arguments that don't fit with their worldview and self-concept. Our self-esteem is totally wrapped up with consumption. We have been told since we were children that having lots of stuff is what makes us winners in life. We don't want to give anything up. It would be giving up a part of ourselves that we've worked hard to create and nourish. That's why people get so completely defensive and pissed off when you bring up this subject. You're messing with their self-esteem and sense of self-worth. I'm not just pointing the finger at others. I also plead guilty. End quote. So there is a lot going on in people's reactions to words like global warming and resource depletion. The reactions revolve around change. We usually do not like it. The Buddha taught that change permeates life. That just as our minds are continuously changing, phenomena are also continuously changing. Everything is manifested by the mind and altered by the consciousness, and thus, with our thoughts, we change the world. And yet, we still believe that we can keep living as we have been doing. We doubt, debate, and deny, but doubting, debating, and denying will not help us fix this new, frightening world of ours. Nor will what we've been told to do for the past 60 years, go shopping, solve this problem. We believe buying things will make us happy, but studies show people were happier in the 1950s. Yes, they had less stuff, but they had time for their children, they worked fewer hours, and they felt more secure. It was safe for children to walk to school. People could leave their doors unlocked. But then, We were told to buy more, that by doing so we would be really happy. We have seen the results of looking for happiness and consuming. It does not work. This is hardly news, since the Buddha taught over 2,500 years ago that happiness does not lie in new things or experiences. Happiness is to be found within ourselves. It lies in what we tell ourselves. Happiness is a mental state, not a physical state. The earlier we realize happiness does not lie in consumption, the earlier we will realize we cannot consume ourselves out of what is now happening. It's going to take more than changing light bulbs and carrying reusable cloth shopping bags. These are, of course, an excellent start, but that is all, a beginning. We need to make changes in our lives, in every aspect of our lives. What we tell ourselves about these changes will determine how we feel. We can make the changes, or we can doubt, debate, and deny. We can complain, or we can hallow those changes by honoring them and accept responsibility for what we have done. We can learn to live with the changes, understanding that doing so is, as Astic says, quote, not an unjust cruelty, but simply what is asked of us, our share of the burden, end quote. May all beings be well. May all beings be happy. May all beings be at ease. Namo Adida Phat. Thanks so much for joining me today.